I was thinking about one way that homeschool parents could prevent overwhelm. It's to assess who are our influencers. And I don't just mean like social media influencers, like weird to think that I might be one of those. I guess I am. I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm sitting here having coffee with you or a La Croix. But anywho, who are our influencers? Who are the people that are actually influencing how we're showing up in our homeschool and in our lives? So I wrote a little post a while back about who our influencers are, and I shared some of the most significant ones in my world. And at that time, I was referring to books, people, and my mind. And why did I say my mind? Books seem obvious, people seem obvious, but I influence myself because I can feel my feelings, but then I interpret my feelings through thoughts, through stories that are very familiar to me. And I'm sure your stories are very familiar to you. And sometimes they're great, they're useful thoughts, they're useful stories, and sometimes they're not. You feel me? So that's one way we influence ourselves. Probably the biggest way, the biggest thing that we can tackle in ourselves to deal with our homeschool overwhelm or our life overwhelm. The other things that we can do is to look at who are the relationships we have around us. Are we choosing those relationships? As we're working through the Building Boundaries group coaching sessions, that has become a prominent discussion. Are you choosing your relationships? Are these relationships useful for you? Are you showing up in your relationships useful for other people? We get to choose those people. And the other thing is books. Lots and lots of books. I love books. Not just my own book. Cliche, I always bring up my book. But you know why I bring up my book? Because it's actually holding up the iPad, to which I am speaking to you on. Actually, 3 of them are, and one is over there. But I am tomorrow in the Homeschool Mama Book Club. I'm going to be talking about Gordon Neufeld's book, Hold On to Your Kids. Have you read it? Even if you haven't read it, you're welcome to join, because the key around this Homeschool Mama Book Club is that I will have read the book, and I will be bringing about 5, not more than 5, discussion points for us to have. And it is a lively discussion. It's a very authentic discussion, and I love this community. Like, if you want an influencer in your own world, in your own homeschool, this is the one you want. A one that's authentic, that really is going to allow for you to show up on purpose and really be you. And also assume that we'll all just gently be kind to each other in how we share with each other, because we might not all see things the same way. But the book that we're going to discuss tomorrow is probably the only parenting book I would recommend. I've read a lot of parenting books. I know there's a lot of value in all the parenting books somehow, some way, but I love this one because it's intuitive. If I could summarize it in a nutshell, I mean, there's so many different ways to interpret this book, but I would say for me, the things that are encouraging to me is really 2 things. One, we need to be connected to our kids, like at a really deep heart level. And the other thing is, and you're leading. You are leading. So this book is worth the effort in listening or engaging or even just watching YouTube videos from Gordon Neufeld. His course on alpha children was super freeing and super helpful for me in a time when I was pretty exasperated. So I know that, we have to consider who our influencers are, because if we're not considering who our influencers are, then the potential for overwhelm is pretty high. And one of the influencers that we need, or the type of influencers that we need in our life, is an encourager, a true encourager, a cheerleader of your homeschool, a cheerleader of your life, not an anti-cheerleader. You don't need to try and convince the people around you, the people that love you, that you know they love you, but they're not really into homeschooling. Those are not the people that you need as support. And as a note to all those newer homeschool moms, or the newer or gonna be homeschoolers in the fall, or people thinking about homeschooling, I've dedicated my podcast season, number 3, to you. And so if you have questions about homeschooling and you're willing to have those questions aired on my podcast, then you're welcome to ask me questions, and I'm happy to address them there. And of course, today, a useful tool for you, especially as a newer homeschool mama. This could be somebody that isn't quite homeschooling yet. Maybe they'll be homeschooling in the fall. Maybe they've been homeschooling for a few years, but you just feel like you're newer. I created a guide for newer homeschool mamas, and you can find that in the link in my bio and download that. And it is a useful tool for you to grapple with the things that are most likely to cause you overwhelm in your first year. I hope it's useful for you. If you have any questions or any thoughts, let me know, and I hope you have a great week.